Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Rose Writes and I write and narrate Miraculous Ladybug fan fiction. This is my newest series, Lost in the Memories. I really hope you enjoy it. I will be featuring most of the love square, but this art was so adorable and is perfect in every way. It's by TIme Pixie on Instagram. I will leave her link in the description box below. Make sure you subscribe if you aren't already, and please enjoy Lost in the Memories. Chapter 1. Marinette's Point of View. Adrien, are you sure you're ready for this? Marinette sat next to her boyfriend, holding his hand as he stared in silence. He peered at her from beneath his blonde bangs, tears lining his eyes. He simply nodded. It was too painful to speak. 1 week ago, Adrien discovered the worst. His father, Gabriel Agreste, was Hawk Moth. Shadow Moth. The bringer of terror upon Paris, and he had been right under their noses the entire time. He had little time to process this discovery, as accumatizations happened more frequently. Adrien picked up and kept moving. No time to wallow in self-pity. "Plague claws out," he whispered, his voice hoarse. The superhero became shrouded in a blinding green light, and there stood Cat Noir, with no hint of playfulness lingering in his demeanor. Marinette's partner had become a shell of who he had been, understandably so. "Tiki, spots on." The now spotted superheroine took her boyfriend's hand, placing a kiss on his knuckles. "You know I'm here for you, always." She offered him a sweet smile, hoping to ease his anxieties. "I know, Bugaboo. I love you." Though the pain was still prevalent on his face, he smiled back. "Let's go." The couple stood outside the Agreste mansion, the building standing even more menacingly with the fog rising surrounding them. Even out of the corner of her eye, Ladybug could see Cat Noir's posture stiffen. His skin had lost its normal warmth, turning pale. She placed her hand on his shoulder comfortingly. "Adrien, are you okay?" he interrupted, yanking away. "No, I'm not. I'm not okay at all, but I have to do this." Ladybug felt hurt, but tried not to let it show. "You aren't doing this alone, you know. It doesn't have to be something you have to do. Let it be something we have to do. I'm here for you, and I'm not leaving. Not ever." "Sorry, I know. Come here." He embraced Ladybug, holding her as if she could turn to dust at any moment. She hugged him back, remembering everything. The scent in the air. Fresh-cut grass. The shine of his blonde hair. The warmth of his body around hers, even through the leather suit. No more words were spoken, but together, hand in hand, entered through the gate to whatever awaited them. Cat Noir gave the double doors a nudge, and they opened with a loud creak. They weren't even fully closed. Weird. The heroes walked in, peering around the corner, seeing no one. Isn't this a little strange? I mean, don't you usually have a full staff wandering around here? Ladybug looked in each door on the way to Gabriel's office when the large metal door opened, slowly letting an intimidating woman exit. "Hello, saviors of Paris. What can I do for you? Is there trouble?" Natalie Sancoeur spoke too calmly, emotionless. She eyed them down past the rim of her glasses. "Sorry to bother you, ma'am. We were just in the neighborhood, and—" "Where's Gabriel Agreste?" Cat's voice raised in volume and aggression. Ladybug took his hand to calm him. "Young man, I don't know who you think you are, but you can't simply—" Natalie attempted to usher the superheroes back down the staircase. "I'm not leaving until I speak with Gabriel Agreste. It's urgent." He pushed further. What was he doing? He spoke bluntly with a fire in his voice. They knew where to find Mr. Agreste, or, Hawk Moth. But they needed to shake off Natalie first. But what could they do? Think, Ladybug, think! "Cat Noir, you need to leave before I call the police." Natalie inched closer to the superhero duo. Even though they were older, she still stood taller than both of them. "Fine, we're going. Come on, Ladybug." Cat Noir took her elbow, guiding her away. "What are you doing?" she hissed. Was he giving up? That wasn't like him. He had to be planning something. As her thoughts raced, he spoke in a hushed tone. "Here's the plan. Pretend to walk out the door, but hide nearby. I'm going to engage the mansion security system. When I do, you need to run." The clip-clop of distant heels clattering across the marble floor let Kat know that Natalie walked from the office into a different room. As they neared the exit, Cat Noir glanced around. The coast was clear. He gave Ladybug a singular nod as they both took cover near an oversized armchair sitting in the foyer. "Claws in." Hopefully no one saw that flash of light. He gave Ladybug one last squeeze of her hand before tiptoeing to the picture of the Agreste family hanging in the middle of 2 staircases. The last picture when they were actually happy. It felt like a distant memory. So distant, in fact, that Adrien didn't recognize the boy in the painting anymore. Adrien looked both ways as if crossing the street before grabbing the painting by its edges and pulling it to the right. It swung open with a mighty force, with a complicated electronics panel waiting behind it. He placed his hand on the scanner and suddenly the room began to blare. It sounded like 100 fire trucks had been summoned. Large metal plates slowly started to emerge from the ceiling. They were going to shut off each exit, now or never. "Lucky charm!" Ladybug threw her arm in the air, receiving just a long piece of rope, but the answer was clear. "Adrien, catch!" Adrien ran a few feet, grabbing the rope, only to hear Natalie's startled voice behind him. "Adrien, what are you doing here?" He looked at this woman with sadness. A woman who had treated him like her own son, but had been conspiring against all of Paris this whole time. This betrayal he never expected. "Sorry, Natalie. Claws out!" Her mouth dropped as she fumbled for her phone in her pocket, but dropped it. The shattering of glass was inaudible due to the alarms. He dashed towards her, wrapping her in the rope from head to toe, especially binding her hands and feet, even covering her mouth, in a knot maneuver he had learned from a YouTube tutorial. He moved closer to her ear so she could hear him over the blaring noise. "I'll be back, I promise." As the large bulletproof metal wall came down, Ladybug and Cat Noir slid underneath it, hearing it crash behind them. "Spot's off," Ladybug uttered, breathless. Before entering the office, she slid to the floor, refueling her Kwame. As her breathing settled, she took a gulp, Cat Noir helping her to her feet. "Behind these doors is your father. You ready?" "With you by my side, always." He smirked at her, smiling that crooked grin she fell in love with. That was her kitty. Despite all of the grief and pain, he was her wonderful kitty, and he needed her. "Spot's on. Let's do this." Together they pushed open the office doors as quietly as they could. The space was empty, their footsteps echoing as they moved. They stood motionless, in awe of the beautiful painting which reached the ceiling. A painting of Adrien's mother, Emily. Cat's hands hovered over the painting, staring at the woman he could hardly remember. He only had to press 3 buttons. Hands trembling, he pressed on the painting. Hands trembling, he pressed on the painting, and then they were swallowed by the floor. A beautiful garden lay before them, and a glass box, holding a woman sleeping soundly that would remind you of Snow White. The elevator slowly made its descent, and upon further inspection... Mother? Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please leave me a like and comment on what you think about this new series. As always, stay miraculous!